Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. As always, I hope you're doing great and I hope you are staying well. We took a little bit of a break over the holidays after the UK Open, but now that we are well on our way through 2026, we are back and we are back with a vengeance. If you watched the end of my last video, you will know that we unfortunately came 65th place at the UK Open, which means that we missed out on our Euros invite by one spot. It is unfortunate, but, you know, somebody's got to come 65th, and in this instance, it was unfortunately me. But we are not going to let it deter us. Our next objective as a part of our journey playing this game is to now secure our invite for the 2026 European Championships. But another big reason why we've not been uploading videos recently is that there haven't actually been any announced events or tournaments coming up in my local area which we can go to secure our invite. That is until earlier this week, where some OTS championships and regional size events were announced towards the end of February and the beginning of March. So we definitely have something now to work towards. There is also YCS Dortmund coming up in about a month from now, which as of right now, we are unsure as to whether or not we can make it. However, I still want to test and prepare for the event, even though at this point, we're not too sure whether or not we can actually make it. So yeah, we definitely have some big things coming up and plenty of things to prepare for. Hopefully we can secure our invite sooner rather than later so that we can focus now towards nationals and Euros later in the year. However, despite all of that, I do believe that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is in a bit of a stale state, at least for the time being. As of filming this, we are currently 2 weeks away from the release of Burst Protocol, the next mainline set, which I do believe is going to turn the metagame on its head. With the release of staples like Forbidden Crown, new archetypes like Elven Notes, and new engines like the Magistus engine, it's just a loaded set which is really going to change the game as we currently know it. Also less relevant by the time that this video comes out, I'm sure, but we are, as of right now, eagerly awaiting a new Forbidden and Limited list. I am so confident that it will have been released by the time that this video comes out. So yeah, there's a lot of things coming up, but there's not a lot happening right now. But I still wanted to make a video to kind of kickstart this next leg of our journey, and hopefully we can make a head start on preparing for the next format and everything that it has in store for us. We have still been going to locals and we have stuck with Malice as our deck of choice, and I have seen a lot of success with it. I feel like it has been one of those decks which the more I've played it, the more rewarding it's felt. However, in anticipation for it finally getting murdered on the next ban list, we have made the wise decision, I think, to turn our attention elsewhere. And there is one deck which I didn't mention earlier, which is getting new direct support in Burst Protocol, which I am really, really excited for. So let's talk about it. Yes, I must confess that I am a branded Andy. I know the deck can be very divisive. People either hate it or they love it, but I definitely fall into the latter category. I don't know, man. I think it's just really cool. I remember when I first started playing the game during COVID and Dogmatica cards were absolutely everywhere, and I didn't have any money and I wasn't really playing competitively at the time. I just thought the cards were so cool. I loved the artwork and the lore. It was just, it was great. It was great. Honestly, give me some cool artwork and a great bit of lore and I'll be hooked on any deck at all. So yes, I like it. To be clear though, I do not like things like the Edo lock. I am guilty of doing it. You're gonna see it in this episode. I'll put my hands up. But part of the reason why I'm so excited for the new Albaz support to come out is that I think it propels the deck and makes it strong enough to the point where it doesn't need to rely on cheap gimmicks like Sanctifier, Edo locking, gimmick puppets, all that stuff. So yes, I think I want to go with Branded as my deck of choice going into the Burst Protocol format. I originally want to try and make it as pure as possible. Ideally, I don't want to go down the Draco Tail line, but if we are struggling to get our invite and that seems to be the only option available to us, then maybe that will be an avenue that we will explore further down the line. As usual, we have got locals coming up later today, and I do want to take Branded to see how well it can compete against the current meta in its current state. We also need to refamiliarize ourselves with the play patterns and what the individual cards do, because granted, it has been a while. We also haven't actually played with any of the new cards that have come out the most recent structure deck, most notably Fallen on the Virtuous and the Dragon that Devours the Dogma. We don't actually own a playset of Fallen on the Virtuouses, so hopefully we can pick up a set at locals today. The list that I'm taking is based off of one of Pack's list, which maxes out on things like the Bestial Saronir as well as Albions, in order to more easily play through hand traps and break boards going second. I'm using this list as an initial template with the aim of cutting it down closer to 40 cards, and in order to make it a bit closer to my preferred play style. With all of that being said, it is time to get our stuff together and make our way to locals. So it's round one of locals, and it would not be a CrumpetTCG video if we didn't have a feature match against Alish. We win the dice roll, we are going first, and our hand is not the best, but it is playable. We lead with Branded in high spirits, and Alish chains his Fuvalos. We reveal our own Fuvalos, sending Rinbrum to grave and adding a copy of Cartesia from our deck to our hand. We decide we can play pretty well on our opponent's turn, so we normal summon the Cartesia, set 2 cards, and we pass it on over. Alish does what he does best and slams down a Kashtira Unicorn. He uses his effect, adding Theosis from deck to hand, and follows that up with the Jokul, revealing Izuna. Both monsters are special summoned, and on resolution we activate our set Branded opening. We summon a copy of Quem and send Fallen of Albaz from deck to grave, and Alish uses Jokul's effect, add another copy of Izuna from deck to hand. On the attempt to leave main phase, we use Cartesia's effect to summon a copy of Grang. This triggers the Unicorn, but we use Grang effect to send Saronir from deck to grave. The Sanctifier is taken away from us, but thankfully we weren't planning on using it anyway, and on a new chain we use Saronir effect, sending Retribution. Next up, Alish overlays his 2 level 5s into Nash Knight and attempts to activate Theosis. We chain our copy of Fallen the Virtuous, popping the Unicorn. He chains Nash Knight targeting Grang, and on resolution we go Rinbrum in grave to special summon Fallen of Albaz. We don't have a discard, so we chain the Retribution, adding back Fallen the Virtuous, and the Albaz is summoned, allowing us to fuse with the Nash Knight into a copy of Mirror Jade. Izuna is activated in hand, Lantern is activated in hand, summoning out Jokul, and here we use the Grang effect in grave to summon a copy of Queritus. Lantern adds a copy of False Release, and 2 monsters are overlaid into a copy of Ripper. Ripper adds Case adds Noroi, and the Izuna on field is tributed over to normal summon the Noroi. Noroi special summons the 3rd copy of Izuna, and both monsters are overlaid into a 2nd copy of Ripper. Now here we forget the Queritus effect is only in the main phase, so one of the Rippers is able to beat over it. However, when he attempts to attack over the Mirror Jade, we are able to chain it and banish that copy of Ripper. Alish moves to main phase 2, a card is set, an ultimate rare is pulled, and during the end phase we are able to add our resources back to hand. He does use the Ripper Negate on the Titaniclad effect to summon, but this does clear the way for the Albion to add a copy of Branded Fusion from our deck to our hand. We draw for turn into a copy of Spriggan's Kit, the kit adds us a copy of Branded Lost, and we slam down the Branded Fusion. From there we're able to accrue so many resources, and we are able to take the first game of this match. Game 2, Alish leads by slamming down a copy of Kashtira Fenrir and adds a copy of Rise Heart to his hand. Next he normal summons Izuna, sending Jokul, which is immediately summoned back to the field by the Lantern. Both Lupus and False Release are added to hand, and Ripper is summoned to the field. Case is added and subsequently activated, and this adds a copy of Noroi. Now it's time to go into some Kashtira plays, so Rise Heart is summoned, and both it and Fenrir is overlaid into Shangri-Era. 2 cards are set in the back row, one of them being a Force Release, and the turn is passed over to us. In the standby phase, Kashtira Unicorn is summoned off of the Shangri-Era, but thankfully we do have the Dark Ruler no more to contest at least some of this board. We follow that up with Fusion Deployment, summoning Cartesia from our deck, and this prompts the activation of Force Release. Thankfully, we do have Fallen the Virtuous to pop the Ripper, which stops the summon of Werewolf. Next, we normal summon Albaz and use his effect, fusing with the Shangri-Era into a copy of Mirror Jade. Next, we go to the battle phase, we beat over the Unicorn, and we use Mirror Jade's effect to banish the Izuna on field. At the end of the battle phase, Alish activates Call by the Grave, targeting our Albion, so we use Cartesia's effect, using the now spent Mirror Jade to summon a copy of Granglidon. We use Grang's effect to send a copy of Dogma Dragon from deck to grave. I hadn't read this card before, I assumed it could set as well as add, so I know that this probably wasn't the right move, and it hurts especially more because our Titaniclad does get ashed. At this point we may have thrown this, but we do get to add another copy of Fallen the Virtuous as follow-up, and we pass turn over to Alish. He draws for turn, normal summons the Noroi, but does not use its effect, and immediately summons a copy of
Typhon. The Typhon bounces back to Grang and smacks us in the face for 2,900 points damage. Main phase 2, he sets another back row and passes it back on over to us. We don't really have any plays, so we just set our Fallen and the Virtuous and pass it back. Alice draws for turn, hits us for 2-9, sets another back row. In the end phase, we use Fallen and the Virtuous effect targeting the Typhon. Now we're able to get back some resources. We add back the Cartesia, we add Branded Fusion, and we draw for turn. We open a really good draw in the form of Branded Lost, we normal summon the Cartesia, and we activate Branded Fusion. However, it also wouldn't be a match against Alish if he didn't have Tikaboo. So we summon the Lubellion, and here is where we mix up the game state a little bit. I go to fuse into Rinbrum thinking that I already have a legal target in my extra deck before I pitch the Makuria. Unfortunately I don't, so we aren't actually able to activate Lubellion's effect to fuse. But it's all good, we catch it just in time, we're easily able to rewind the game state and carry on from there. After realizing all this, we go Retribution effect, adding back Fallen the Virtuous to have a little bit more disruption on our opponent's turn. We hit him for 15 with the Cartesia, and we pass it over. On Alish's turn, he draws, he sets, and he passes it on back to us. Keeping it super safe, we just turn Lubellion to attack position, smack in for another 4,000 points of damage, and pass it on over. He draws for turn and clutches a copy of Wraithoth, but thankfully we held the Fallen the Virtuous, popping the Wraithoth, and we take the game from there. I'm really enjoying this little rivalry that Alish and I have got going on at the moment, and I'm sure it won't be the last we see of him. Round 2 of locals, and we are paired up against Caleb on Branded Draco Tail. Caleb is a big support of the channel, so it was really fun to be able to play against him as part of one of these feature matches. That being said, we lose the dice roll, we are going second, and our hand consists of Branded Fusion, Double Branded Opening, Branded in High Spirit, and a Luba. Caleb starts the normal summon Lucius, adding a copy of Urgula from deck to hand. He immediately follows that up with a copy of Fire Mena, and it ends on an end board of Urgula, Gulamel, all 3 set traps, and God knows how many hand traps. We draw for turn into a copy of Lubellion, which we immediately use to add a copy of Saranir from deck to hand. We activate Branded Opening, but this is met with the Draco Tail Horn. Thankfully, we have the High Spirits in hand to extend, and we reveal the Saranir, sending Titaniclad and adding a copy of Albion. We use the Albion's effect, sending the Lost from deck to grave, and we manage to draw into a copy of Super Polymerization. That's going to help a lot. Next, we normal summon the Aluba, and we add a copy of Fallen the Virtuous from deck to hand. It is time to start popping back row. We activate Fallen the Virtuous, targeting where we know the Sting is, which is immediately then chained, targeting Lost and the Albion in grave. We're able to chain the Retribution that we sent earlier to add the Lost back to hand, but unfortunately he still does get a draw. We activate the Branded Lost, the Fire Mena is chained, and we chain Super Poly to avoid the Gulamel pop. We summon Secretarian Dragon, which is immediately met with Caleb's Secretarian Dragon. This puts us in a little bit of a stalemate, but thanks to Branded Lost, he isn't able to get any additional advantage from the monsters that he fused from his hand. We had a copy of Cartesia off of the Branded Lost, and we followed that up with the activation of Branded Fusion. Now here's where we definitely make a misplay. I still need to play around the set Horn, which is just going to bounce back anything which I tend to crash into his Secretarion. We fuse away our own Secretarion to summon a Mirror Jade. I feel as that definitely isn't the right move. We do manage to clear his Secretarion with its effect. The Horn is activated, it bounces the Mirror Jade back, and we kind of just lose steam from there. We're now able to get to a Gringagnol, and in the end phase, the Titaniclad summons a Quem from deck. However, as soon as we go Albion effect to add or set, that does get ashed. We still have some layered interruptions set up, so I'm not feeling too bad. However, on the start of Caleb's turn, he goes first action, normal summon Fallen of Albaz. He summons his own copy of Mirror Jade by fusing away our Gringagnol, and we just lose it from there. It is unfortunate, misplays were made, all we can do is move on to game 2. Now game 2, we really show our rustiness with this deck. Our opening hand is really strong. We have opening for Alaba gets us Branded Fusion, and we have hard drawn Branded Lost. We activate Branded Lost before slamming down the Branded Fusion. We send Fallen of Albaz and Cartesia and summon a copy of Albion. We use Albion's effect to fuse, we use Lost's effect to add Makuria, and we get Lubellion, which summons us a copy of Mirror Jade. However, because we didn't send Lubellion off a Branded Fusion, we can't tribute over the Albion to get it into the grave. So we have to use a copy of Fallen the Virtuous, popping the Albion, sending Titaniclad from the extra deck to the graveyard. In the end phase, Titaniclad summons Quem from deck, Quem sends another copy of Fallen of Albaz, but then our Albion in grave is ashed once again. It's a tricky situation because I think I didn't see just how much interaction we actually had, so we do chain the Makuria to negate the Ash Blossom. But instead of setting Brandon in red or Fallen the Virtuous, we add High Spirits, send the Cartesia, we use Quem to summon back the Cartesia, which we could have just done on our opponent's turn, with a copy of Fallen the Virtuous set. On Caleb's turn, he goes first action, Branded Fusion of his own, which is a really strong opening play. We don't have any way to stop it, but we do chain our own Cartesia. Now, we should have summoned a copy of Secretarian Dragon here, but the fact that this is my first time playing with the card, I just forgot that we had it. So I summon a copy of Grang, wrong, and that loses us the game. With his Albion, Caleb manages to get to his own copy of Secretarian Dragon, which essentially nullifies all of our interruption that we have left, and he just steals the game from there. It's hard to get angry about it. We know all of these things for next time. All we can do is move on to round 3. Round 3, we are playing against Mason on Cool Tune. We win the dice roll, we are going first, and we open with High Spirits pitching Serenade. This is full combo for us, and to keep things brief, we're able to play through Mason's only interruption in the form of Ghost Spell, and well... Game 2, we are going second, and Mason starts with a copy of Synchro Overtake. We chain our copy of Fuvalos, and Mason gets to an end board of one of the Cool Tune Synchros, the field spell, a set card, and a normal summon Notoria Rose Whip. Thankfully, I think we have quite a few answers to the Rose Whip, and we start with normal summon Aluba. Aluba adds us a copy of Branded Fusion from deck to hand, and on resolution we go Saronir effect, targeting one of his Synchros in grave. But this prompts Mason to use his Cool Tune Trap, targeting that Synchro monster. We chain our Call by the Grave in hand as a final effort to try and get rid of it, but Mason chains his Synchro on field to copy its effect and bounces our Aluba back to our hand. With no more known interruption on field, we are free to use our Albion in hand, pitching the Fallen the Virtuous, to summon it and to beat over the Notoria Rose Whip. In main phase 2, we use a copy of Thrust to add a copy of Talent. We look at his hand, we see there is no more interruption, we activate Branded Fusion, and well... I'm sorry, Mason. You were a really good sport about it. For the fourth and final round of the day, we are paired up against Josh on Sulphur Chord Yummy. We lose the dice roll, we are going second, and our hand consists of Lubellion, Double Thrust, Fallen the Virtuous, and Aluba. That means we have 0 interruption to contest this combo, and with the special summon of Marshmallow, Josh combos up into an IP Masquerena, a Herald of the Arclight, and a Cookie Yummy Way with set 3 back row. I don't want to keep you here too long, so I'll let you know that we do not end up breaking this board despite our hand being pretty good going second. Game 2, we do get to go first, but our hand isn't the best, and we do get ashed on our copy of Branded Fusion. We're still able to set up a bit of a board, and we do play it quite nice, so we are able to take Game 2, managing to hold off all the pushes that the Yummy deck has in store for us. And Game 3, it's pretty simple. He goes Marshmallow effect, we activate the Fuvalos, but he has got the Ash Blossom, and he is able to combo up to the exact same board from Game 1. We did side into a few board breakers, and so we do give him a bit of a run for his money. We end up in a really simplified board state, but a normal summon Draw and Lockbird with a minion on field seals our fate. We see the writing on the wall, and we scoop it up, falling once again to the dreaded 2-2 Locals Curse. But we are happy that it's not a negative record, given the fact that it's our first time playing the deck in quite some time. It was a really busy day at the shop today. I think there was something like 4 or 5 events on at the same time, so unfortunately we didn't get a chance to get much good B-roll. But after Locals, we did take the time to go over some of today's games, figure out what we could have done differently, and learn the process. We also did some good trades and managed to pick up a few bits and pieces that are really going to come in handy once Burst Protocol comes out. And on the whole, I left Locals feeling really good about our deck choice going into next format, and I'm really keen to get as much practice in as possible, ready for next Locals. So now that we're coming to the end of the video, I want to take a little bit of time to talk about something non-Yu-Gi-Oh related which happened this week. Outside of Yu-Gi-Oh, another big passion of mine is music. I always try and include little snippets of my records and my instruments in the intros to these videos, and it was something that I spent a lot of my time doing basically up until I finished university. But I must admit that in recent years, it's a hobby which I've really struggled to stick to. You know, work and life, it can really get in the way of these things, but I do think it's really important, especially these days, to find that avenue, that outlet, which allows you to stay creative. You know, it's a big reason why I make these videos in the first place, as an example. So that's why my New Year's resolution for 2026 is to do more of it. And so, this last weekend, I met up with my friends George and Dan to record some brand new music as a part of a project that we've been working on for the last couple of months. We hired out a space and we spent a whole day recording with this kind of DIY studio setup, and it was so much fun. And it felt so great to do something like this again. And the point of why I'm telling you all of this is that in 2026, I really want to encourage you, if there's something that you want to do or something that you want to start doing, you should really just give it a go. And I think you'll thank yourself for it. I really do. And yeah, let's all try and make 2026 a great one. Okay, back to Yu-Gi-Oh. So there we have it. Like we said earlier, we have unfortunately fallen back into the X2 curse at Locals, but these things should be expected when you take a quote-unquote new deck to any tournament that you go to. Of course, misplayed a lot, obviously a little bit more than I would have liked to, but as I always say, as long as we're able to look back on these games, realize things we could have done, I have found since starting making these videos that has been a great way of learning from my previous games in a more proactive way. I did have a lot of fun shaking things up and playing a new deck, but I definitely did feel a drastic difference in the power ceiling of Branded compared to something like Malice, which has a bit of getting used to, I must say. I think I mentioned earlier that after the locals at the Gamers Lodge last Saturday, I was so keen to get some more practice in and just get some more games in. So yesterday, we actually had the chance to go to a different locals in a town where I occasionally do some work. Shout out to Gemini Games in Huddersfield. And we got a little bit more practice in against Odeon, Radiant Typhoon, and White Forest. Although they aren't the strongest decks in the world, they definitely still are relevant in the current metagame. So I was really glad to get some more practice in against those. We also managed to trade for a few Draco Tail bits. The game plan is still to build pure and stick with pure. I just think it's better safe than sorry because we need our invite. We do need our invite, and I do think that Branded Draco Tail is going to be the best deck of the next format. So why not pick them up, especially for a good deal? We're going to talk a little bit more about Branded as a deck post Burst Protocol in the next video, as well as a few changes to the list, which I think I'm going to make before the set is legal. Fingers crossed in the next video we manage to get our hands on some Burst Protocol, but we will wait and see. And to be honest, that is where I was going to end off this video. However, a few hours ago, Konami released an updated Forbidden and Limited list, which very unhelpfully has made some of this video pretty obsolete at this point. But it's all good. I am very interested to see how the changes on this list are going to shake up the metagame, because as we said before, it has been getting pretty stale. I'm still processing my own thoughts on the ban list, and I'm definitely not an authority figure when it comes to dissecting the metagame. But my initial thoughts are that Vanquish Soul K9 is going to be a very, very scary deck going forward. There's already a lot of it at my locals, and I just think there's going to be even more of it. So we need to prepare for that matchup. I honestly never thought I would say this, but I am sad to see White Binder gone. I am sure that so many of you are going to disagree with that statement, but we did develop a bit of an affinity for the deck, and I'm just not sure it's going to be a viable option anymore, unfortunately. But I am glad that we decided to make a bit of a game plan, move over to Branded, and yeah, goodbye Dormouse, hello Albaz. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. I do know that it's been a while. You know, these videos take a really long time to make, especially when you balance it around work and life and all of those other things. But I promise you that I'm already planning the next video, and I've got some ideas for the videos after that. You know, we're on the journey now. We need to get our invite. We need to go to Nats. We need to go to Euros. And I really want to document the whole process and bring you guys along with me. 2026 is going to be an unforgettable year. I just know it, and I can't wait to get started. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.